Chapter 28. The Moon Woman. Nurin kindly looked at Adam after his comment about the accident. But instead of responding to him, she looked at the ragtag group, dirty from their adventures, and announced, "You all must be hungry. Everyone, come in, come in. I'll show you where you can clean up." The gang all made their way through the open purple door. Noticing Lincoln's purple hat, Nurin nudged the boy and said with a wink, "I like your hat." It was a modest place, not big enough to comfortably lodge 5 unexpected guests. But then again, the kids slept in a dirty hollowed-out tree the night before, so no one was complaining, and they were all grateful to be indoors. There were no piles in the corners, clutter on the surfaces, or signs of pets. The house was immaculate, and everything was in its place. Verona's attention was drawn to the walls. They were beautifully covered in very elaborate wallpaper and framed works of art. One in particular caught her eye. Verona walked over to the artwork hanging just past the small entryway in a larger but still very modest living area. She had a feeling that there was something familiar about it. The art was very colorful and adorned with jewels. However, the subject of the work was simple. It was beautifully written words, scribed in an ancient language. Then it dawned on her. Even though she could not read the words, she was nonetheless positive she had seen them before. It was the same as what she had seen hundreds of times before when she was in Assur's kitchen. The artwork was encased in a deep purple frame. Registering the color of the frame, Verona turned and scanned the room. Not everything in the house was purple, but there were enough pieces of furniture and decorations with some shade of the color scattered throughout the place to further raise Verona's suspicions. Adam and Lake's grandmother directed the children in and invited them to clean up and get comfortable. They all had to take turns with the one shower in the home. As they waited for their turn, they all settled in on a variety of chairs and one small purple couch in the living room. Now that Nurin was comfortable and satisfied that everyone was taken care of, she came over to Adam. She motioned to him, and the two stepped into the small hallway adjacent to the living room. As she looked at him, Nurin noticed that Adam was already taller than she was. She smiled and touched him on both arms. Adam flinched a bit, and she withdrew her arms. She said, "The last time I saw you, you were just a baby. Now, look at you. You're practically a man." "I'm sorry. It has been so long." Adam wondered why she had never come to visit, but before he could ask, she questioned, "Why are you here, my dear?" For some reason, this question struck a chord within the young man. Adam instantly burst into tears that had been holding back for days. He desperately tried, but was unable to control himself. Nurin reached out, wrapped her arms around him, and held her grandson tight. Adam did not flinch again, but rather collapsed in her arms and cried for a good while before he could finally form some words, and then eventually sentences. Breathing heavily, Adam told his grandmother that his parents were in a very serious car accident, and they were both in an Illinois hospital, lying in comas. Adam felt ashamed because he didn't even know if they were still alive. He told her that Lake and he had nowhere else to go, and that she had to come back with them to be with their mom and dad. Nurin held Adam, stroking his hair and whispering that he did the right thing and everything was going to be okay. Even though it was only a small act of counsel, and Adam thought that there was no way Nurin could know if everything was going to be okay. Somehow the gesture worked, and Adam started to calm down. Nurin told Adam that she didn't have a phone, but they could go into town in the morning and call the hospital. With this information, Adam nodded, wiped his tears, and then sat silent for another few minutes, until Nurin asked, "What's the story with the others?" Of course, Adam could have explained, but he was too emotionally drained and didn't have the strength to get into the moon woman craziness. He simply shrugged and suggested, "You're going to have to ask them." It was now about 5 o'clock, and Nurin vanished to the kitchen. While she was cooking, the children waited in the living room. The last one to finish his shower was Adam. When he walked into the living room, he was met by Verona. She bounded up to him, and she was noticeably riled up. In an excited whisper, so Nurin couldn't overhear, Verona called everyone over. "We have to talk." The children huddled in the middle of the room, just between the purple couch and the large fireplace. Verona already had her suspicions that destiny had brought her to this house, but now she was convinced of it. She said, "Sir told me to find the moon woman, right? Well, did anybody notice the knocker on the front door?" The kids all just looked at each other, as if to ask, "Should we have?" "It was a moon," blurted Verona. "Also, look around. There are moons everywhere," she added. It was true. There must have been at least 20 things in that room, alone, that had moon decorations on them, from paintings and lampshades to bookends and small figurines. Verona continued by pointing directly behind her. "I've seen that fireplace before. My neighbor, the friend who sent us on this journey, has one exactly like it, right down to the oak trees and ornate carvings of the sun, moon, and earth. I had thought it was a true one-of-a-kind, but there it is again." Lincoln looked at it as if he had somehow just noticed the giant fireplace in the small room, then looked back at Verona with his mouth wide open. Just then, the fire burning inside sparked and cracked. Adam protested. "I know you were sent on a crazy mission to find a mysterious woman who somehow is just supposed to magically appear, but you're wrong. How could my grandmother be the moon woman? It's insane. A lot of people decorate their homes with moons. You're just looking for something that isn't there and attaching extraordinary meaning to things that are common and everyday items found in homes across the world because you want it to be so. Heck, even my house in Effingham has moon decorations in it. And I am sure that it is a common design for a fireplace. You want it to be true, but trust me, it's not." Verona shot back. "You said yourself that you don't even know your grandmother. How do you know she's not the moon woman? And if she is, that would explain why your mother has moon decorations in your house, wouldn't it?" Adam physically stomped his foot while he yelled. "I do know, and trust me, she's not the moon woman. I'll let you in on a little secret that everyone knows except you. The moon woman." Adam threw his hands into the air above his head, making 2 quote signs with his index and middle fingers on both hands, and said again, "The moon woman doesn't exist, and I'm sorry, but your friend was either delusional because of his injuries, or he is just crazy." Verona did not appreciate Adam's dismissal of her beliefs, and she was about to let him have it when Nurin walked into the room calling out, "Dinner! Who's hungry?" Jumping in surprise, they tried to act like they were not just arguing about whether she was the mysterious moon woman. They all awkwardly collected themselves, followed her, and squeezed around a small table just off to the side of the kitchen. Verona chose the seat farthest away from Adam. Nurin prepared a traditional South Asian dish of chicken masala, peas, and rice. After everyone had filled their plates, Nurin finally walked to her chair. Jack took a bite, and was the first to speak. "This is delicious," but Verona interrupted him and spoke over Jack, wasting no time questioning her host. Unable to control herself, Verona blurted, "Are you the Moon Woman?" Nurin, who had not even sat down yet, froze, looked at Adam, and then at Verona, responding, "I beg your pardon?" Adam seemed appalled and yelled, "Verona!" But Verona paid no attention to Adam and was undeterred. This time she flat out stated, "You are the Moon Woman, aren't you?" Then Lake and Jack chimed in, not in defense of Adam, but in support of Verona. "Come on, you must be the Moon Woman." "Lakey!" Adam shouted. Lake just shrugged and kept looking at her grandmother. Even Lincoln whispered, "You have the same fireplace." At this, even Adam turned toward his grandmother to catch her reaction. She didn't say anything. She slowly sat down in her chair, staring at the group of children. Verona calmly added, "I know you are. I can feel it." Finally, Nurin spoke. She turned and leaned toward little Lincoln and quietly asked, "What do you mean, I have the same fireplace?" Lincoln sank into his seat and nervously glanced at his sister. Verona started explaining the whole story. She told Nurin about her friend, how he was attacked, how his fire was put out, and that he was the one who sent them on this journey to find the Moon Woman and bring her back to help. When Verona was done, Nurin had a very frightened look on her face. She put her head down, and without looking at Verona, she asked, "What is your friend's name?" Verona replied, "Sir Koreshi." When Nurin raised her head back up, tears ran down her face. Adam whispered, "Do you know him?" Nurin quietly responded, "Sir is my husband and your grandfather." The shock was palpable in the silence. Adam couldn't believe that Verona's Assur was his grandfather, and he couldn't stop thinking that if Verona was right about the Moon Woman, then maybe she wasn't as terrible or crazy as he thought. He also knew that he owed the girl a huge apology. Everyone at the table seemed to be trying to digest all the information they were just given, and not the delicious food that now nobody seemed to be aware of anymore. They all sat in silence until Lake finally blurted out, "Well, are you the Moon Woman?" Nurin admitted, "I have a certain affinity for the moon, and yes, I have been known as the Moon Woman, but I haven't been called that for a very long time, and I'm not sure I still deserve the title.